On June 26, 2015, the Supreme Court legalized gay marriage in a 5-4 ruling that proved to be a major victory for the gay community.
This morning, the Supreme Court recognized that the Constitution guarantees marriage equality.
And just a month ago, President Obama announced that a monument may be created for the gay rights movement in order to commemorate such victories and the Stonewall riot. But oh, how the times have changed. The 1960s was a time of extreme suppression for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community, to the extreme that homosexuality was deemed a psychological disorder. The monumental 1969 Stonewall riots were a resistance by the patrons of the Stonewall Inn against a police raid, influenced by growing frustration towards the cultural suppression of homosexuality. The Stonewall riots vaulted gay rights into the front line of American social culture, history, and politics, cementing its legacy as the origin of the modern gay rights movement.
In order to understand the origins of the Stonewall riots, we must first analyze its historical antecedents, being rooted in a long history of cultural repression. Prior to the 1960s, homosexuality was completely banned from all aspects of American society. Government and institutional propaganda aimed to incite fear, warning citizens, especially children, about the dangers of homosexuality.
So if any one of you have let yourself become involved with an adult homosexual or with another boy, and you're doing this on a regular basis, you better stop quick. Because 1 out of 3 of you will turn queer.
This legal prejudice against gays was later supplemented by a growing social discrimination during the 50s, as society, motivated by the Red Scare, undertook a crusade against anything that threatened the American consensus. Television glorified the ideal household of white, suburban, nuclear families, while psychiatrists like Charles Socrates labeled homosexuality a mental illness that needed curing. Meanwhile, gay bars, one of the few places that openly tolerate homosexuality, were labeled perverted and frequently raided by the police. However, the emerging civil rights movement of the 60s had an incredibly influential effect towards the LGBT movement, prompting a massive shift in the ways gays have responded to discrimination. Motivated by the actions of civil rights activists like Bayard Rustin, who himself was gay, LGBT individuals began to shed their historical submission and actively stand up for their own rights. Such a change, combined with the growing frustration against an ignominious history of homophobia and the ever-increasing amount of raids of gay bars, paved the way for a tremendous clash and ultimately the Stonewall riots. On June 28, 1969, as per a state order to suppress all New York bars with subversive activity, the New York Police Department attacked the Stonewall Inn, popular and already frequently raided gay bar. However, the patron of Stonewall Inn, fed up with the condescension and brutality they were being treated with, broke into open revolt against the police. 201 customers were immediately arrested after they refused orders to produce identifications, and this commotion attracted a huge crowd of mostly gay onlookers. Inspired by the bravery of the Stonewall patrons, the crowd rallied behind the cry of "Gay Power!" and started to verbally abuse the police. The ensuing chaos grew into violent assaults where the police department sent backups to rescue the trapped officers. For the next several days, various mobs and demonstrations protesting such brutality against gays would take place in the city, prompting some of the first open discussions about LGBT rights. Following Stonewall, protests and organized dissent and the push for gay rights expanded dramatically. The rise of 2 gay rights organizations, the Gay Liberation Front and the Gay Activist Alliance, along with 3 LGBT newspapers, provided the movement with a more vocal and action-oriented method of campaigning that rapidly spread throughout the nation. The public reception of homosexuality hadn't changed. Such developments illuminated the issue just enough to allow for open discussion and political action.
While Carter and Nixon both did not pass any federal gay rights legislation, both were more open to gay rights than previous presidents. Nixon argued against discrimination towards gays in private, while Carter became the first president to declare support for gay rights. When Bill Clinton came into office, he was able to make some advances such as appointing the first White House liaison for the gay and lesbian community. When Obama entered office, he became the first sitting president to endorse gay marriage and rejuvenated the gay rights movement, especially with the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Legal support for gay rights gained its first crucial victory in the 1996 case, Romers versus Evans, when the Supreme Court ruled it was unconstitutional for states to discriminate against citizens based on their sexual orientation. It was the first court ruling that specifically addressed gay rights, and it represented a basic recognition of the LGBT sexual orientations. In 2003, in the case Lawrence versus Texas, the Supreme Court shot down Texas's law outlawing sodomy, and ultimately, in 2015, in Obergefell versus Hodges, in a landmark decision, the Supreme Court ruled to legalize gay marriage. In 1973, the American Psychiatric Association departed from the ideas of the 50s and the theories of psychiatrist Charles Socrates by removing homosexuality from its list of mental illnesses. Gay pride parades also rose in frequency, such as the National March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights in 1979 and 1987. Washington, Maine, and Maryland were the first states to legalize gay marriage via popular vote in 2012.
The conservative platforms of Nixon, Reagan, and H.W. Bush achieved no real progress for gay rights due to conservative platforms. After H.W. Bush left office, the movement had stagnated. After Clinton took office, despite some crucial gains, he passed the Don't Ask, Don't Tell Act to satisfy Republican Congress. It barred open homosexuals from serving in the military. Later, George W. Bush tried to pass a bill banning gay marriage nationwide. While many victories have been made for the gay rights movement through the legal avenue, it also did give its own setbacks to the community, such as in 2007, in Boy Scouts vs. Dale, the Supreme Court honored the Boy Scouts' decision to exclude a gay scoutmaster. Even a decade or so after the Stonewall riots, the federal government went on to produce anti-gay propaganda for the public and for lecturing boys in schools about the dangers of homosexuality. During the outbreak of AIDS in the 1980s, many Americans blamed the spread of the disease on gays and thought homophobia also increased with the rise of moral majority during Reagan's presidency, when many families tried to revive the 50s-era culture by supporting Anita Bryant's Save the Children campaign. Recently, more conservative states such as Louisiana clung steadfast only to traditional heterosexual marriage. Even in more liberal states, there has been discrimination against gays, such as the passage of the Proposition 8 in California. It banned gay marriage and rescinded state recognition of gay couples.
In recent years, America's socio-political climate has grown more sympathetic towards the gay rights movement. President Obama's endorsement of the gay community, along with major court rulings, have made many small steps towards advancing the rights of homosexuals.
Gay and lesbian Americans should be treated fairly.
In addition to this new legal trend, a resurging social acceptance of the gay community emerged with a new generation of millennials. Education has also been reformed to align with the LGBT movement. Most schools nowadays teach students acceptance of their own and other sexual orientation. Furthermore, schools often now have clubs, exemplified by their gay-straight alliance, that allow LGBT students to comfortably share their sexual orientation and seek help. Such a trend has caused millennials to be one of the most accepting generations in terms of sexual orientation in the US. In the future, such a social trend will help further gay rights and status of the LGBT community in America.
Since the fateful night in 1969, a lot has happened within the gay community. The Stonewall riots, which are rooted in a frustration towards a long history of homophobic suppression, was an unprecedented event that prompted the formation of the modern LGBT movement. Since then, the situation of gays has continued to shift. However, whether it be through continuous judicial effort or gay right marches, it is clear that considerable progress, both social and legal, has been made. In the end, it is only through understanding such a complex history that one can truly understand the legacy of the Stonewall riots and the significance the monument to Stonewall would represent. Looking back 46 years later, the time is now, and it is our duty as Americans to both appreciate the great strides achieved and to continue striving for progress to keep the spirit of Stonewall alive.